दोस्तों ये वीडियो शुरू करने से पहले मैं आपको एक खुशखबरी देना चाहता हूँ। इस गाड़ी के दाम आज 20,000 रुपीज़ कम हो गए हैं। यानी कि हमने जब ये गाड़ी शूट करी तब FZ25 की कीमत थी 1.54 लाख रुपीज़ और FZ25S की कीमत थी 1.59 लाख रुपीज़। यामाहा ने 20,000 रुपीज़ इस गाड़ी से कम कर दिए हैं। अब इसकी कीमत है 1.34 और 1.39 लाख रुपीज़। यानी कि अगर आप वैल्यू फॉर मनी की बात करें तो अब इस गाड़ी का कोई तोड़ नहीं है। 250cc सेगमेंट में अगर आपको कोई वैल्यू फॉर मनी मोटरसाइकिल चाहिए तो इस गाड़ी से बेहतर कुछ नहीं है। इस वीडियो के एंड में प्राइसेस कुछ अलग हैं, लेकिन असली प्राइसेस मैं आपको पहले ही बता दिए दे रहा हूं, तो आप उस चीज़ का ध्यान रखें। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। Hey guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Amit and this is the FZ25 and in this specific case the FZS25, which is slightly different from the standard FZ version, and obviously this is the BS6 variant. We are late to the party, but as always we'll try to give you the most comprehensive review of this motorcycle. So let's first and foremost talk about the differences between the FZS and the FZ variants of this motorcycle. And the first difference that you'll see is this slightly raised fly screen that the FZS comes equipped with. Also very evident would be these knuckle guards, which are exclusive to the FZS. These golden wheels that you see here are also exclusive to the FZS, and the color schemes are also a little different. So on the FZS you see 3 colors, while on the FZ you have 2 colors. And apart from that, a few details like these golden touches here on the knuckle guards and on the tank shrouds are a few other things which differentiate the two. Now apart from that, the standard motorcycle also has seen some changes over the BS4 variant, and talking about those, now the most prominent change that you'll see here is this headlight, which if you look closely is shared with the MT unit, and you obviously have this DRL, but it looks fantastic. It's probably not the most effective headlight units in the night, and probably could have done with a little bit better spread. The wheels, in my personal opinion, look better in black, while for quite a few of you the golden color should appeal a lot as well. And these disc brakes that you see here are 282 mm units up front, and at the rear you have 220 mm units. This bike comes with a dual channel ABS, which is not switchable. And apart from that, a few other changes that have been incorporated in the BS6 variant include this engine cowl, which is new. And apart from that, if you look at the whole motorcycle, the stance of this motorcycle is more or less the same. The changes have been kept to a bare minimal. And let me talk about a few things that you'd probably be interested in. So if you look at the instrument console here, it's still very basic. It's got inverted colors, and it comes with the average efficiency readout, which is a good thing. It comes with an odo and 2 trip meters and an instantaneous fuel efficiency readout as well. You have a clock as well. You have a tacho, fuel gauge, turn indicators, ABS light, high beam indicator, engine malfunction, and neutral indicator. You don't have a gear indicator, a specific gear indicator on this unit, which I think is an omission. Apart from that, if you look at the switch gear of this bike, you have this engine kill switch here, an electric start button, a horn which I'm not very fond of. It's a very faint kind of a horn for this size of a motorcycle. You have these turn indicators, high and low beam. You have this dedicated pass switch here, and this light on and off switch. So when you turn it off, only the DRL is functioning, and you can turn the light on as well. What's missing here is a hazard light, which I really think would have added a lot of value to the switchgear. The switchgear itself is of average quality. I really think that the quality here could have been a little better. We have seen better quality on motorcycles in this class, and this switchgear could definitely have been a little better. Same goes for these bar and grips, although they are not bad at all, but we have definitely seen these bar grips, and you have these plastic bar and weights as well. The rear view mirrors are tapered. They are very sleek and very slim, not very practical, although you can see what's coming from behind, but they are not the best when you want to keep a constant eye on what's coming from behind. So the RVMs could also probably have been a little better. The small fly screen, which has been extended in the case of FZS, does help a little bit when it comes to wind deflection, but over longer journeys it's not going to be of great use. So it's not a proper windscreen which is going to deflect wind and keep it away from your helmet. Now these blinkers that you see here are LED here in this case, but these are optional units, these are accessories, these are not standard fitment. If you go for the standard variant, you will get bulbs and you will have to pay extra for these LED lights. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. I really like the treatment that the FZ series has given to its tank always, and these extended tank shrouds definitely give it a very muscular kind of a look, which makes it stand apart in the 250cc segment. And this motorcycle definitely has a character of its own, and by virtue of its looks alone, it has earned itself lakhs and lakhs of fans. So I really love this tank extension, the shroud. You have these 4 inlets here and these kind of outlets which are of no use. You have this faux carbon fiber kind of a finish here, all black engine treatment, and a dimple on top of the tank. The spine of the tank, if you look at it, is black and it's flanked by the body color. Then the side panels are all black, and the seat, which needs a special mention, is quite wide. I like the firmness of the seat. Seat height is 795 mm, which should make it accessible even for shorter riders. Even if you are 5 feet 5, you should be able to mount this motorcycle pretty easily and use it. The weight is also not too much. In the case of FZ S25, it is 154 kgs, and in the case of the standard version, it's 153, which is pretty manageable. The ground clearance is 160 mm, which I think could have been a little better, especially because the roads here in this part of the world are not very good, and over bad bumps, this does tend to scrape its belly sometimes. So the ground clearance could probably have been a little bit better. About the seat, I like the firmness, and the seating position, the riding position here is such that the foot pegs are very rear set, and you also have to lean a bit forward. So despite being a street fighter, this motorcycle has a slightly crouched seating position, and which is a good thing in the long run as per me. But for those of you who are looking at a more commuterish kind of a stance, this might come as slightly more committed than to your taste. Also, I think that the seat, although it's very comfortable, the firmness is right, I think the shape of it and the slant of it could have been a little better, because you do feel that you are sliding a little bit forward when you are riding the motorcycle. So this might cause a little bit of inconvenience over longer distances. The pillion seat also is quite spacious. It's not that it's not very spacious, although it's a step unit, it's a split unit. So for those of you who are shorter in height, might find a little bit of a problem in swinging your leg over it, although it's not all that much of a problem, as you'd probably see on motorcycles like the R15. I love the grab rail here. It's very beautifully designed, and it's very practical as well. It's very easy to hold on to. So that really makes it a very, very practical unit. And the exhaust, as always, is a very stubby, very chunky, very nice looking unit. And since we're talking about the exhaust right now, let's fire the engine up and listen to how it sounds. So as always, the exhaust of the FZ is quite throaty, quite bassy, and it will not disappoint you. Another important feature that you'd probably want to be mindful of is that this comes with a side stand sensor. So if the side stand is engaged, you will not be able to turn the ignition on. Now that I have removed the side stand, the engine has turned on. See, it turned off by itself since I engaged the side stand again. You also get a tire hugger, and if you look at the tires up front, you get a 100 section MRF, and at the rear you get a 140 section MRF. You have 70 inches both up front and at the rear, and a few other details if you're interested in. The brake unit is exposed. There is no rubber cladding on it. This probably could have been finished a little bit better. And similarly, if you look at the other side, you don't have a heel shifter here, you just have a toe shifter, and here you have a rubber ring which is surrounding the toe shifter. You have a small sari guard as well, and overall the proportions of this motorcycle are spot on. For a lot of people who are going into this segment for the size and the looks of it, this works perfectly well, and this indeed is a motorcycle that makes people give it a second look. So that is that about the design of the motorcycle. The tank here is 14 liters, which is pretty good. And if you talk about the fuel efficiency, it hovers between 30 and 40 kilometers per liter depending on how you're riding it. If you ride it on a highway in a gingerly fashion, you can get up to 40 kilometers per liter, and if you're really ripping it, it'll come down to 30. But 35 is the right average number, and 35 kmpl is what you should expect from this motorcycle as a whole. Now let's come to the most important aspect, which is the performance. And for the BS6 variant, the power output here is 20.8 PS at 8000 rpm, and the peak torque output is 20.1 PS 6000 rpm. Now if you look at this segment, you have a few other motorcycles, and especially the Gixxer 250, which according to me is the star of this segment, which produces significantly more, 26.5 PS of peak power at 9300 rpm and peak torque of 22.2 Newton meters at 7300 rpm. Now that power is almost 6 PS more, and the torque is 2.1 Nm more, so you definitely have a significant advantage here. If you look at the Dominar, there also you get about 6.2 PS of power extra and about 3.4 Newton meters of torque extra. So in a nutshell, this motorcycle produces the least amount of power and torque in this segment, but that should not really bother you because overall the performance is satisfactory. Those numbers really don't make it feel like a slouch. For everyday purposes, this motorcycle feels perfectly swift, and it races to its 100 mark also in a very convincing kind of a manner. Talking of that, let's talk about the speeds in every gear. And the first gear will take you to 48 kilometers per hour, the second gear will take you to 72 kilometers per hour, in third gear you will see 94 kilometers per hour, and in the fourth gear you will see 114 kilometers per hour of speed. And in terms of tractability also, this motorcycle delivers rather well. And even in fifth gear, which I think needs a mention right now, because for a 250cc motorcycle I think there should have been a sixth gear here, but you only have 5 gears, so that's a bit of an omission. But in the top gear, which is the fifth gear, you can make this motorcycle move from 38 kilometers per hour, and it trundles on from that speed onwards. In fourth gear, 30 kilometers per hour is the speed that you'll have to keep it if you want to keep it moving, and in third gear 22 kilometers per hour is the minimum speed, below which this will start stuttering. 2000 rpm is the bare minimum where you have to keep the tacho at, below which you feel the engine struggling, knocking, spluttering, and above 3000 rpm it's very smooth. Talking about the character of the engine, it moves forward in a very reassuring, very linear kind of a manner, and after 6,500 rpm you feel a bit of a surge, and from 6,500 rpm all the way to 9,500 rpm where the limiter cuts in, you feel like, you know, the engine is really working very well and you feel a surge of power. Although after 7,000 rpm you'll feel a bit of a very mild sense of vibes on the handlebars, and although this is a very refined, very torquey, very tractable kind of a unit, there is a very mild sense of vibrations that you'll feel on the handlebars after 7,000 rpm. It's nothing worth a bother, but it needs to be mentioned. Now in terms of the weight, this is one of the lightest motorcycles in its segment, which really helps it accelerate a little better. And the wheelbase here is also quite substantial. It's more than the Gixxer 250, so that way it's very stable. It feels very planted. It's very well tired, so you never feel like it's slipping. So I really believe that Yamaha have done a very good job with putting the right set of tires on it. So it feels very stable even in a straight line. Even when you are going around the corners, there is absolutely nothing that you want to complain about, especially for this class of motorcycles. This does a fantastic job, and it's a good balance between offering you good comfort and a good dynamic ability package. Rear you have a 7-speed adjustable monoshock, and this motorcycle has a very good balance between ride and handling. It handles very well, has a very comfortable set of suspension as well. So it's a very sorted motorcycle that way, and in terms of comfort, convenience, you would not have to bother at all. Gear shifts could have been a little bit better. I found the gears to be a little bit notchy. I have seen better gear shifts in this segment, and I think that Yamaha could have done better with these gear shifts. This engine here is an air oil cooled unit, and if you look at other motorcycles in the segment, you'd see that there is better technology available, especially the prime rival, which is the Gixxer 250. That motorcycle comes with an oil jacket around the engine, which does a better job of cooling the engine, and therefore the power and torque numbers are better there. And that motorcycle, my estimation, is the benchmark for this segment, offers the best value versus performance. Overall, a fantastic looking motorcycle. I really believe that the stance, the visual appeal of this motorcycle is its biggest USP. And for those of you who are looking for a very practical, very reliable, refined, and most importantly, value for money motorcycle, I think this motorcycle fits the bill perfectly. It ticks a lot of boxes. It cuts the frills and offers you a very good package, the Yamaha brand, at a very good price. And the standard version of this motorcycle is available at 1.54 lakh rupees ex showroom, and the FZ S250 is available for 1.59 lakh rupees ex showroom, which translates to 1.86 lakhs and 1.92 lakh rupees on the road respectively for the FZ standard and the FZ S250 respectively. Now if you want to compare it with its rivals, the price is definitely on the lower side. Now the Gixxer 250 is available at 1.69 lakh rupees, which is about 15,000 more than the standard version. And if you look at the Dominar 250, it's 1.7 lakh rupees, which is 16,000 rupees more than the FZ25 standard. So this motorcycle is the least expensive, but also it's the least powerful and is the lightest as well. We are not going to talk about the Duke 250 and the Husqvarna units, because those motorcycles are upwards of 2 lakh rupees and don't really compare with this motorcycle in terms of pricing. But there you have a lot more power, but you'll have to pay a lot of extra money as well. In the FZS you get a blue, this green and a white color, while in the FZ25 standard you get a black and a blue color. In terms of warranty, the FZ25 comes with a 2 years 30,000 kilometers standard warranty, which is extendable to 5 years 70,000 kilometers, and in all you get a 5 years 70,000 kilometers warranty if you go for the extended warranty. So that's that, guys. The FZ S25 and the FZ25 managed to be probably the best looking motorcycles in this segment. I really would not recommend anyone to go for the Dominar 250, but in my personal opinion, if you look at this whole segment, the Suzuki Gixxer 250 is the best overall motorcycle, but it's slightly expensive as well. But if you're looking specifically for the looks and the appearance of it, the FZ25 holds its own, and I think that's one reason why a lot of people buy it, and it still has its advantage in that department. However, in terms of performance, there are better motorcycles available in this segment. I really hope that this review was of some use to you. You were able to get the answers to some questions that you were looking for and could not find elsewhere. And if you like this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to Motoroids, and always put Motoroids in front of your searches if you like our long format, very detailed reviews. Until next time, this is Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and ride safe.